Who will ban Bitcoin next? We've seen China and India, some other countries. Josh Shigala, who will ban Bitcoin next?
All of them. You know, yeah, all of them. Yeah, eventually, all of them will, because they'll try to compete with it, just like India, and it'll become impossible to ban, and it's just it'll happen what happens with Dash and all these other ones, because Bitcoin will become more fungible eventually, and then they'll say, oh, it's too private, and then it's probably all of them.
It really does seem that way. At first, Bitcoin was more of a joke, but now that it's past $50,000 and it's over $1 trillion, they're starting again to see it as a threat. So it really might go that way. Martine Wismayer, who will ban Bitcoin next?
I don't know about banning, but as you say, that now that the price is up and the market cap is higher than ever, you'll see more and more countries starting to heavily regulate it, just regulate it, make it impossible to actually own some Bitcoin. I mean, even starting about unhosted wallets. I mean, what is an unhosted wallet? It's just a wallet. I mean, there's no such thing as an unhosted wallet. There are wallets and there are custodial wallets. Custodial, bad; wallets, good. So you'll see more and more of this stuff happening. At the same time, I think there will always be countries that will welcome you as a Bitcoiner with your stash of Satoshis, and they will not ban it. So eventually we might have to vote with our feet and move to another country, but I'm all prepared. But suitcases packed.
I think you're spot on there. That's exactly what the modus operandi has been in the past as well. Is they just basically make it. They're like, oh no, we're a free country. We wouldn't ban anything. But you've got to jump about 1 trillion hoops, and you just don't do it. So it's effectively banning.
Come to Portugal. Sorry,
Dan Eve, who will ban Bitcoin next?
Well, I think it's kind of fallen. It used to be a scare thing on my radar, but now I think Bitcoin is just so big that nothing's going to cause an impact anymore. And even if like China did say, I think we're going to ban it, I don't think the market will move like it used to. Because it's just so ubiquitous now. It's not just one area that people think that all the mining's done, and therefore that's going to be where the biggest impact is. I think that it's so well spread that that's kind of the news that's coming along just sort of patters out a bit less and less each time, because it's not enough to move the markets. And unless say the US or I think US were number one in those the charts for Bitcoin trading, I think that would be the only country that I think really would have a significant impact on Bitcoin. But I just don't think that's gonna happen. But the funny thing is that, going back to the example that we hear Bitcoin from an ecological side, so the fact it's bad for the environment and blah blah blah, that's the kind of only thing people have got left. And in the banking industry, it's money laundering. It's like, oh, Bitcoin is used for money laundering. And I think in January, when Christine Lagarde, the head of the ECB, who happens to have been convicted for a 400 million euro felony, but still managed to get a great job after it, wish I was that lucky. She said, mentioned again about the money laundering. The money laundering is bad for AML. We've got to put regulation. But no one so far. I mean, I haven't heard any big examples of money laundering. There's loads. You could search HSBC and money laundering, and a plethora of articles come up just on that alone. But I haven't seen one good documented argument, or not argument, but case where Bitcoin has provably been used in a big money laundering, fiasco, and certainly not even the scale of some of the larger banks. So yeah, I don't know. I don't care who says they're going to ban Bitcoin, because Bitcoin will ban them.
Yeah.
Dan, Eve, can you see my screen? It's like Dan can see the whole thing here. So yes, Dan was reading off the reasons why the United States will be the one to ban Bitcoin. Money laundering, environmental problems, a threat to central banks. Articles will be written. You're causing a brain drain. This is bad for technology. But then they'll say, we have to do it anyway. And they'll be right. Moving on to the exit question. The price of Bitcoin. This time next week, higher or lower? Dan Eve.
Okay, well, I've been a bit too optimistic, I think, the last couple of weeks, although technically we are quite close to 65. I think that was the last one I said. So I'm going to stay with 65 because it's only another 5K. It's about 11%, if that, less than that from where we are now. Yeah, I think 65K is a reasonable guess.
Dan stays with 65. Martine, higher or lower?
I'll stick with Dan on this. We've seen a lot of buying. Sorry, the market's been a bit slow, but you see that buyers are all concentrated around the 54K. Sellers don't want to go lower than 64K. So that's why there's not much movement in the market. So I think 65, then we're lucky, then we're breaking that. Eventually, you know, those buyers will have to come up with a price. So 65, definitely good.
Josh Shigala, we're seeing a consensus for 65. Do you agree?
I see like the moving averages for the week do show me a strong buy signal. I also think there's a fairly solid buy signal on some other technical triangles. But
that's a technical term.
That's a very technical term
d'art. Yes.
No, I mean some of the oscillators are looking kind of neutral. But one thing I would say is that if you're going to buy Bitcoin at this height, then definitely just average in every week or day or payday. That's the best way to go. But I do see that there is a bit of a strong buy on the moving averages at the moment.
But now the Bitcoin predictor ball will predict the price of Bitcoin. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Outlook, not so good. Outlook, not so good. So there it is. The panel is bullish. The ball disagrees. Outlook, not so good.